I hope you all are having a wonderful afternoon. This is Atmospheric Alex here bringing you an update on a potentially Hurricane Ernesto that'll be developing over the next few days, and even an update on something I haven't talked about on this channel before. So if you would like to stay tuned for that, watch till the very end of the video. So the first thing I wanted to look at here was the National Hurricane Center's cone of uncertainty for Ernesto, and you can see right now where Ernesto is. And it will be approaching the Leeward Islands here over the next couple of days or so as potentially a tropical storm, and then potentially nearing Puerto Rico. Looks like getting there into Wednesday morning, also as a tropical storm, before continuing to intensify after leaving on its approach to Bermuda, where, in my opinion, the most significant impacts may occur. So if you are in Bermuda, I'd highly recommend you pay attention to this update, as I will be talking about you guys a lot. So now we're going to look at our earliest reasonable arrival time of tropical storm force winds. Once again, this is from the National Hurricane Center here, and we're seeing how early these winds may move in, and we're talking about for your Leeward Islands here, potentially as early Tuesday morning around 2 a.m. Looks like when those winds could arrive. Puerto Rico could be Tuesday evening, maybe into Tuesday night is when I do expect that to occur. You can even see some outlines for Dominican Republic, as this will have a decent sized wind field to it, so the winds will expand outwards of the storm as time moves through. We're even talking about the Bahamas here as well. Just take a look at that. We're talking about late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning is when we do anticipate impacts to the Bahamas in the form of 40-mile-an-hour sustained winds. And this will continue, like I said, to track up to the north and east, where it could make a close pass, or could even hit Bermuda on Friday morning. And we do expect a 50 to potentially even a 60% chance of tropical storm force winds to impact the island. Alright, another graphic we should be paying close attention to is your total rainfall forecast from what is PTC 5. This is Potential Tropical Cyclone 5, which will become Ernesto soon. That's a system that we have been talking about for a bit now. And as you can see, this will be dropping tons of rainfall here, outlined in the yellow shades, where we are expecting, take a look at this, 4 to 6 inches of rainfall. You even take a look at some of your higher areas here. Look at that, 6 to 8 inches of rainfall. And let me just break this down for you all really quick. The main reason why Puerto Rico could get a lot of rainfall from this system, a lot more than, say, the Leeward Islands, is as this system passes off to the north of Puerto Rico, it'll move up here, and your wind impacts, you think about how a hurricane, a tropical storm or a hurricane rotates with this wind field. You'll have a rotation like this. And I want to note something here with this orientation of your wind flow. What do you have on the southern side of Puerto Rico that is so unique? Well, you have a mountain range right within here. So basically what's going to happen is all of your rain is going to funnel down south, and you're going to see a bunch of orographic lift. What this essentially means is that your clouds are going to run into your mountains, and the only thing they could do at that point is rise. They rise further and further and further, and in turn, it's like a sponge where it squeezes out all the rainfall. So you could see definitely some significant totals across southern Puerto Rico. Please prepare for significant life-threatening flooding across those areas, as there are people who live in those tight little valleys there that could pick up possibly upwards of a foot of rain. So now let's take a look at a tale of two models. It's just a classic story we've heard countless times for the tropical season here. Let's take a look first at your HAFS B model, and I want to just take a look at the model that is slow to development and is fast to development and kind of compare and contrast what our impacts could be. As you can see, your HAFS B model basically leaves us as a disorganized mess. Basically, nothing organized about this at all as it goes through the Leeward Islands, even the Windward Islands, which I don't really believe. But you can see it begins to consolidate a little bit better here over Puerto Rico. And we'll just have to see what happens with this. You can see definitely some very strong winds pounding into your leeward islands here. Just please be on alert there. As this continues to move north of Puerto Rico, this becomes much better established here. You have a closed center circulation and extremely strong winds pounding the coastline here. Hey, you could even have some water spout concerns, even maybe a tornado or two along the coastline of Puerto Rico. You all need to be watching the system closely for, like I said, very heavy rainfall. That is your main threat out of this, as this continues to funnel in more and more moisture coming up from the south here. And the organization process continues, moves away from the Greater Antilles, and begins to deepen faster and faster and faster on its approach to Bermuda as a bona fide hurricane here, potentially even a major hurricane. I will point that out here. This could undergo rapid intensification on its approach northeastward here. As conditions become much more favorable, you begin to develop more of that shrimp shape there in your precipitation field, which is a lot more favorable for a barotropic tropical weather system. And those words, barotropic and baroclinic, we'll get into in a little bit as we look at our zoomed out view. But we're going to look at our HWRF model first, or HWRF model first, to see what it would be like if this rapidly strengthened. Well, you get your inner core established very quickly here, I would like to note, on its approach to your leeward islands. And just take a look at all of this rainfall here, just pounding that area. And something important to see is how fast this develops. The HWRF model wants us to rapidly intensify on its approach to Puerto Rico. What? I didn't think that was supposed to happen. Well, there's definitely a tree of outcomes that could occur from this system, depending on its conditions ahead of it. But nonetheless, tons of rainfall slamming into the coastline here. Take a look at these dark red, maroon to even some of your pink colors in there. That indicates some very heavy thunderstorms absolutely pounding your southern Puerto Rican coastline here, with strong to perhaps damaging winds and flooding. This continues to rear its ugly head, and we keep seeing heavy rainfall across Puerto Rico. Just the constant wind and the rain lashing the island there. And this island here is particularly vulnerable to these tropical systems. They don't have a good power grid system, as it tends to go out very frequently. So we can see Ernesto continuing to rapidly intensify, rapidly deepen, going north here. Just take a look at this bona fide system here. You have a perfect ring-like structure here starting to develop as this continues to move off closer to Bermuda, because you'll see here shortly, uh-oh, look at your island here, this little blip here coming into view. You have Bermuda getting significant impacts, tons of damaging winds, tropical storm force winds likely at this point in time, and your very heavy rainfall wrapping in with even a couple of water spout features that cannot be ruled out, moving straight towards the island. So people on there need to start their preparations immediately, as this could become very significant. Alright, now that we talked about that, it's time to look at more of your hidden risks of the system. Because a lot of people along the East Coast are going to be like, well, if it's not hitting me, what are we going to see? Nothing, right? No, you're going to see high surf coming in. But first, let me take your attention now to the Leeward Islands here. We're talking about wave heights between 9 and 11 feet, so if you're having to go out in the waters, be very cautious. If you're boating, also be very careful. And you can see from the GFS model, before I forget, this is the GFS wave model here, and we are seeing very powerful surf slamming into the Puerto Rican coastline here. We're talking about upwards of almost 15-foot wave action there. So very significant heights there moving through. This model, it pushes it a lot further west, and even look at this here, Dominican Republic here, upwards of 17 to 18 foot waves here, slamming into the coastline with some breakers even higher than that along seawalls. So this is extremely important to realize here. And on its approach to Bermuda, just take a look at these waves here. We're talking about wave heights upwards of 19 to 20 feet. So do not go in the water at any cost with this system. But remember, it's your classic fairy tale of two models. We have to deal with this all the time in the forecasting world. So with your European model, stays a little further north, less impacts here. That's great news. Still though, can expect some waves to be slamming, Puerto Rico there. Your Leeward Islands getting in on the action. Dominican Republic, not as much. Your southeastern Bahamas as well. Take a look at that, 10-foot waves. So that is enough to cause some slight inland flooding, depending on the height of the seawall. You know your local areas if you live there. You probably know the heights there. But this model in particular, the European model, takes us very close to Bermuda, if not even landfalls on Bermuda, and your wave heights are much, much higher now. Take a look at this. You have upwards of 30 to almost 35-foot waves just slamming the coastline of Bermuda here. This is absolutely not what you want to see, and this will for sure cause storm surge impacts along the coastline. So, again, a tale of two models, one of which shows it going all the way over here, nothing at all, and the other one's like, boom, straight into Bermuda. So it is important to be monitoring these trends. Check the National Hurricane Center daily, several times a day if you can, if you live in Bermuda, as this track will continue to shift to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right, until it finds its mean here and where it's going to go. So why on earth is this going out to sea? I thought you said, the Bermuda High was going to strengthen, so it'll probably track more westward. I thought I heard other people saying that this was going to track much more westward. Well, the pattern since then has changed a lot now, and we are expecting some interesting developments here on your weather models. So let's take you out here just before the decision happens, this turn. You can see your GEFS members tightly clustered in on Puerto Rico, and I would like to note a couple of features displayed on the map. We have a trough of low pressure here that's moving on through. And then you have your high pressure ridge out here to the east, which will swirl the winds around like this and will cause a channel to open up through here. All right. And you have your low pressure winds doing this. What's going to happen now is because of the Coriolis effect, which is basically the effect of the rotation on Earth. This is going to naturally be pulled northward at this point and out to sea. Kind of. Now remember, Bermuda still will probably be seeing impacts from the system, so please do not call this a fish storm. There are people in the line of fire of this system who need to monitor this. But at least, for now at least, that could change. This will not be impacting the northeast coastline here. Even much of Canada should be okay. Just if you're out here in Newfoundland, you really need to monitor this, as there could be a sudden track shift well more off to the north here. Now remember those terms I was mentioning earlier, as this barotrophic system here, this tropical system, alright, goes into the pathway of least resistance up through here, cuts through there. We're expecting this to take on the frontal system, enter more baroclinic as it moves up this way, more extratropical development, if you will, as it gets latched onto fronts. And then this system will become a broad old mess here. Nothing tropical anymore, likely. This will just be your classic, fall time strong low pressure system. Prepare for windstorm impacts in these areas especially. Alright, now remember how I said I had a little bit of a surprise for the end of the video here? A little bit of something that I haven't talked about before on this channel. Last night, it appeared that a very intense Northern Lights display did impact much of the United States, and believe it or not, I was able to see it for myself. So you could take a look here we're seeing a bit of a purple hue here, especially in these pictures are a little lower quality though, because it's not as easy as it looks photographing these things here, but a very nice pink tint to the sky here. This was absolutely breathtaking to experience, and I really hope we can see it again sometime soon. And speaking of that, we're going to take a look at tonight's Northern Lights forecast provided by the Space Weather Prediction Center. I'm so happy to be looking at this because I usually don't get to here. We're talking about potentially another display here, dipping down from the northern US, maybe even into the Midwest a little bit. However, this was predicted to be a lot weaker because we thought that all of our energy from last night's solar storm would be up and out of here by this afternoon. I am so happy to say that it's actually doing the opposite right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at that, shall we? So now I know exactly what you're thinking. Alex, what on earth does all of this mean? I only want you to focus on the BZ up here. What this essentially is it's the magnetic tilt that Earth is going through right now with this solar storm. And all you need to know is the further south this line goes, the higher chance there is to see the northern lights. So what we're currently seeing right now is we're seeing that massive dive down south, and we even saw it last night as well. This is last night over here, and this is this morning into this afternoon. Last night we saw this big dip occur, which is why we had prolonged northern lights across Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, all the way up through there as well. And what we're beginning to notice here is this dive back down south this morning, and every time I've noticed this with this specific solar storm, every time it tries to go back up north, again, the more north it goes, the less favorable it is. It'll crash back south again, and we're starting to see that. See how it tried to go north, and all of a sudden, boom, crashing back south again. If this continues for the next several hours, there's actually a chance we could see a very incredible Northern Lights display again tonight. So just kind of keep that in mind here. It might get very crazy out there. We'll just have to wait and see as these conditions continue to move through. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video. I know I went on a bit of an off-topic conversation at the end there. I just wanted to show you some of the crazy weather that's ongoing that isn't really atmospheric meteorology related that I'm into as well. And if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to smash that like button and feel free to subscribe so you can help me grow my little corner of the weather community. That being said, have a wonderful afternoon and even a wonderful night, everybody. I'll see you in the next video.